Okay, dear Dhamma friends, we are going to start the third Dhamma sermon. May you give your consent by saying sadhu sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Cha bhikkave ānisanse sampassamānena alameva bhikkhuna sabba sankharesu anodin karitva anatta saññaṃ upaṭṭhāpetum tīti. Dear friends in Dhamma, so we have discussed a couple of things for the time being. At the very first day, we tried to figure out how we develop the sense of I. We develop the sense of individuality. I am a person, I am an individual, I am so and so, and every time now I have to sort of establish myself, I have to promote my selfhood, I am selfing. Now there are cameras to have the selfing also. so all that, so we have discussed briefly. So basically how the I making happens. And further with the tanha, the craving, so we are attaching to so many things and we are kind of belonging things now, possessing things now. So in order to boost I, in order to boost this ego, so we have a fair amount of things belonging to us. And then when we are dealing with that, when we are attaching to that, we are holding to that, and I feel safe, I feel kind of attached, I feel confident. So I am there. I am quite safe. So this is my house, this is my car, this is my job, this is my children, this is my husband, this is my wife, this is my country, this is my economy. So everything is helping us to maintain this selfhood. And we are using so many things in order to do that, to boost the self. And that's what we typically are surrounded, what we call in general as the upadi. That's why on the very first day I mentioned that Udena Sutta, where on the highlights. So people are very much like surrounded by these various upadis, assets, to maintain this selfhood, maintain this personality. And again, we are very much, every time we want to become someone, say from our childhood, our parents may be encouraging us, okay, son, you need to become a doctor. Okay, son, you need to become an engineer. Okay, son, you need to be a good citizen. You need to be a good teacher. You need to be a scientist. Okay, some kind of a motivation, some kind of an ambition being developed within us. So we are also following it. We are quite ambitious. We have that sort of mentality. And so we are maybe studying and maybe we are doing our sports. There also we want to win. So every time, so that sort of a mentality is also there. So continuously wanting to become someone. So throughout our lives, therefore, we are playing different roles. Either as a student, either as a leader, either as a team leader, or maybe the kind of a singer. Maybe you are in your career as a doctor, as an engineer, or as a teacher. So at your home, as a son, as a mother, as a father, as a daughter, so many roles are there, and we are willing to play that, we are wishing to play that, we are playing that, and further we want to become someone. So always that becoming process is continuously governing us, pushing us, driving us. Further, I want to become a Sotapanna. I want to become enlightened. So that's also another type of a motivation in the spiritual world, that we are driving ourselves. I am not a Sotapanna now, so Bhante, how can I become a Sotapanna? I am not fully enlightened, so how can I become fully enlightened? So becoming is actually useful in a way to motivate us, to drive us. That is also accepted as a mean to motivate. Tanhan Nissaya, Tanha Pahatabbu. In a way, Manang Nissaya, Manam Pahatabbu. Those are also discussed in Dhamma, how this tanha, craving, also can make use to drive ourselves. conceit also can be used to drive ourselves. That also can be used in a proper way. But typically, we are using in a different way, always to become someone, so that we are showing ourselves among the others. I am so and so, I am an individual, I am quite special, I am a VIP, so likewise. So this kind of a individuation, this kind of a manifestation as a person is something that we are continuously maintaining. In order to help that process, we have different assets, upadis, that we understood. And then different belongings are there, so we are attached to those things. And that also we understood, okay, how the mind making happens. So first one is causing I making, ahankara, I making. The other one is causing mind making. This house is mine, this son is mine, this daughter is mine, this wife is mine, this husband is mine, this car is mine, this country is mine. So I have so many things. Mine, my belongings are there. Mind making happens. Mamankara. Now ahankara and mamankara are in general. So these are the things that we briefly try to explain. So I making and mind making, in short. And further, as we are continuing in our life, so yesterday we tried to understand how Buddha very deeply, in a very subtle way, philosophically or psychologically mostly, how he is explaining this I making, mind making could happen due to some very deep psychological reasons. So one thing is our ability to imagine. So our mind has the ability to imagine things. Things are not necessary to be very tangible, concrete, real things, but still we can imagine things. So this imagination, in a way, kind of a skill, but imagination causes I making. Asmiti bhikkhave manyita metang. Ayang ahang asmiti manyita metang. So I have an imagined self now. So imagine self, imagine individual, imagine personality. So that promotes I making, mind making. Then we discussed injita meta. So the craving. So when we acquire things, when we crave things, we desire things, that is also another thing promoting I making, mind making. Desires, craving, tanha, that's another area to make a self, an I. Then we discussed the pandita, kind of we are holding on to something, we are established on something, but unfortunately, those things are not stable. Those things are constantly going to changes. Whenever such trembling happens, whenever those changing happens, so we feel trembled, we feel attacked, we feel threatened, I making, mind making can happen. Pandita. Also another reason for this I to pop up. Now another thing is what we call the papanchita. So that's, we are fond of thinking. And we like thinking, we like imagination, and not only that, we like thinking. I want to think. Why don't you think about it? So people are asking, why don't you think about it? People like to think, to ponder again and again in many different ways. So we discussed the kind of attribute in the mind with respect to papancha is very much like diversified thinking. Thinking in multitude way, spreading out in an ad hoc manner. So our thinking is not properly ordered, well organized, systematic. Rather, thinking is very much in an ad hoc way, disordered way, and spreading out to many different random directions. And it can lead to overthinking, obsessions, proliferations. And this tendency is promoting I making, mind making. So asmiti bhikkhave papanchita metang. Ayang ahang asmiti papanchita metang. So papancha is another area. So we want to think. So thinking is another area to have a selfhood. So whenever you don't have much of I popping up, so you feel kind of lost. You feel like, okay, I feel bored. So then you want to sort of feel like, okay, others are not appreciating me, others are not helping me. So in that way also you may start having kind of self-sympathy, self-empathy, because you are a self, you are a somebody. And if you are not getting enough attention, if you are not getting enough respect, appreciation, your boosting of self is less, then you feel not encouraged and you feel kind of discouraged, depressed. So all these things are also there. So you are very much like feeling miserable. So the I-making, mind-making is not enough. So then you go to the other side. Okay, people don't like me. So still me is there, I is there, but going to the opposite direction. He don't like me. He don't like me. So again and again you might think. So the depression is possible. All these mental diseases are possible. Because when this self-approval, self-appreciation, self-boost is not happening enough, you can even go to the depressive states. And so anyway, everything is causing us to think a lot. So at least we are imagining things and making a self. And I am going to be the president. So you can imagine like that to boost yourself. Or else if you are going to the other opposite way, so they don't like me, people don't care about me, I am helpless. So based on this selfhood, again you can go to the depressive states as well. Still based on the thinking. So thinking is therefore another area promoting the self. Either you think negatively, either you think positively, still selfhood is there, I is there, self-view is there. And the other area, obvious area, is that we are tempted to compare ourselves. Because I am now manifesting as an individual, others are also now manifesting as individuals. So how am I doing compared to the others? How am I behaving compared to the others? So tempt to compare ourselves, to measure ourselves. And I have something belong to me, and you also have something belong to you. How my things are compared to your things. So objects are there, people are there, individuals are there. Now the inevitable result is the measurement, comparison. That is also causing I-making, mind-making. So we discussed these things little detail. And now all these things we can say helping us to become someone, either thinking, either to craving in many different ways, become someone and to belong something. So every time when we become someone, so it is called dhammeta. You are someone now. You are made of something now. And when you acquire something, that acquired thing also possesses you. So very much like that also mind making also causes dhammeta. So dhammeta, in a way, giving another term to this whole process. So I making and mind making cause in general this dhammeta, identification. You are made up with something. You are identified as someone, or either you are acquired with something. Now the question is how to overcome this. So what is the result? So rather, what is the solution to abandon this ignorant nature, delusion happening in our mind? So that's what we are going to explore today. Now let me take a kind of a sutta to give directly from the reference to the Buddha's teaching. One sutta I have taken from Anguttara Nikaya, Cakkanipata. It's called Atammaya Sutta. Talking the opposite now, Atammaya, non-identification, not made of. Atammaya we can say either non-identification or not made of or not confirming that. So that kind of a meaning, Atammaya. So Atammaya Sutta. Now he says like this, Chabikkhave anisanse sampassamanena alameva bhikkhuna sabba sankharesu anodin karitva anatta sanjang upattapetu. Now monks, seeing 6 benefits, you may look at develop the unlimited perception on non-self without any boundary, without any limitation. That means, so he's inviting us to develop the perception of non-self, anatta. Anodin karita anatta sanyang upattapetu. So you need to establish on anatta, non-self, without any limitation, without boundary, as much as possible. Seeing 6 benefits. Now he is explaining these 6 benefits. Number 1, sabbalokecha atamyo bhavisa. I will be without identification in the entire world. So the solution is there, in a way, directly. So the very first benefit, Buddha is saying, okay, if you are practicing anatta sanya, non-self, okay, you are able to maintain yourself completely free from identification. Then second one, ahankarochame uparijjisanti. I-makings will cease for me. You can see the solution, right? I-making is cease for me. Now, you are not going to make I-making if you are practicing anatta sanya. Mamankarachame uparijjisanti. Mind makings will cease for me. So you are not going to say mind, mind, mind. So instead, so the mind makings are now abandoned, ceased. Asadharanena jnanena samannagato bhavissa. So you may possess a kind of a knowledge, a wisdom which is not common with the worldlings. So you become kind of a one fairly empowered with a wisdom which is not commonly shared with the natural folk. Hetuchame suditto bhavissati. So you have seen the cause. So here the cause means the parisaupada, idappaccheta. So you have seen how things are really happening. What is this causal reaction? The idappaccheta, parisaupada. And then the last one, hetu samuppannacha dhamma. So you have seen the results of this causation. So parisaupada, we can say 2 areas are there. We need to know the principle, the governing principle, idappaccheta, and what are the results or the kind of factors which are going through this governing principle, so that we are trapped in that whole process. The typical dependent origination, that whole process, starting with avidya paccaya sankhara, that whole thing. So avidya, sankhara, vijnana, namarupa, all that are this hetu samuppannacha dhamma. Now these are the results directly mentioned in this sutta, Atamme Sutta. So therefore we can immediately get the answer here. Okay, I have to develop the anatta sanya. Now, before developing anatta sanya, we can't immediately actually find anatta sanya. Now we get another sutta. It's called also from the Cakkanipata, Anguttara Nikaya. It's called Anavattita Sutta. Let me brief that also. Here Buddha mentioned, Cha bhikkave anisanse sampassamanena alameva bhikkhuna sabba sankharesu anodin karitva anicca sanyang upattapetu. Now, similar way, he is emphasizing about the anicca sanya. Okay, monks, seeing 6 benefits, you got to develop the perception on impermanence without any boundary, without any limitation. Please develop impermanence, the perception on impermanence. Now the 6 benefits are like this. Sabba sankharechame anavattitato kaisanti. So you can understand that things are constantly being impermanent, constantly being destroyed, constantly being, disappearing. So once you develop this anicca sanya, you can see that how things are falling apart, quickly disappearing. Second one, sabbalokecha me mano na viramissati. So you are not attached to the worldly stuff. If you can remember that fish, so fish is attached to so many things, right? So whatever he sees, many other fish or many other plantation or caves or coral or this and that. So he is fully obsessed with so many other stuff. So his mind is fully engaged with that. For us also now same. So we are fully engaged with so many sights, sounds, smells, tastes, tangibles and thoughts, mental formations. So we are trapped in that. We are hooked up with that. We are completely bounded by that, imprisoned by that. Instead, now if you are practicing anicca sanya, result is the opposite. Sabbalokecha me mano na viramissati. So your mind will not attach to them, your mind will not get delighted by those things. Then the third one, sabbalokecha me mano putta hissati. As a result of that, now the mind will give up that, is able to emerge from that conditioned world. The third result. 4. Nibbana ponancha me manasam bhavissati. You may have a mind inclined towards Nibbana. Samyojanacha me pahanam gacchanti. All different fetters binding you will be now abandoned. Slowly abandoned, destroyed. Number 6. Paramenecha samanyena samannagato bhavissati. So you may endowed with a beautiful, successful recluseship in a way. Now we can see benefits of anatta sanya. Again, we understood briefly about the benefits of impermanence, anicca sanya. And let me take another little sutta just to give another relationship between these two. That's Meghiya Sutta in the Udana Pali. So Buddha mentioned like this: anicca sanyino Meghiya anatta sanya santhati. Anicca sanyino Meghiya anatta sanya santhati. That means, for when one perceives impermanence, Meghiya, the perception of not self is established. So therefore, it is not that immediately you are able to understand the non-self, not self. Rather, when you are established yourself properly with the impermanence, it will lead to understand the not self. So therefore, the first thing is first, right? So therefore, we need to understand impermanence first. So that is important, that is critical. So anicca sanya, very much like the groundwork that we need to prepare. We need to understand, we need to thorough. So as we develop anicca sanya, it will slowly divert into the anatta. That's another story. Okay, now we are quite clear. In case if I am able to thoroughly understand impermanence, that also giving these kind of benefits. As I move forward anatta, it will cut off the rest of it, something like that. Anatta sanyi asmimana samuggahatam papunati dittheva dhamme nibbanati. So Buddha further emphasized even in this Meghiya Sutta. So once your mind is well established in the anatta sanya, even the asmimana, the conceit I am, the subtle defilement, subtle selfhood, even that is abandoned. Dittheva dhamme nibbanam, you achieve nibbana in this very life. So the path is clear. So the kind of the criteria is very much clear. So we need to understand the impermanence. It will may need to develop the non-self. It will cut off the whole thing and we are free. So how to do that? Now we know the theory, but how to do that? So that is where the Satipatthana comes to the picture. So Satipatthana gives us a fairly comprehensive practical approach to implement this. So Satipatthana is in a way an ekayana magga. So ekayana ayambhikkhave maggo sattana visuddhya. So it's giving a kind of a fairly sure path, a direct path to purify the minds of these beings in a way. Ekayana ayambhikkhave sattana visuddhya. So kaparidhavana samatikkamaya. So in order to abandon this sorrows, lamentations, dukkha domanassanam attangamaya, to abandon the suffering, despair, and so kaparidhavana samatikkamaya, dukkha domanassanam attangamaya, nyayassa adhigamaya, to realize the path, to be kind of confident in the path. So this is the Satipatthana that the introduction Buddha is giving. So in a way, so mere philosophical understanding is not enough. Now we need to have a kind of a practical approach to go through the practice. So that is where the Satipatthana is kind of standing, and that is what we are trying to promote. And basically, so in the Satipatthana practice now, there are few things we can first understand. So what is the kind of mentality we need to have? Ida bhikkhave bhikkhu kāye kāyanupassī vihirati. Atapi sampajano satima vinaya loke avijja domanassa. Now few clear cut instructions are there. So what's the kind of mentality, the mindset we need to have when we are developing Satipatthana? One thing is atapi. So you have to have a kind of a mindset which is quite energetic. So you found a path, now you are happy and you You have to do it. Something like kind of energetic, diligent, atapi. And sort of, even things are difficult, you are not giving up. Okay, I'm going to do it. So that kind of a determination is there. And other than that, you are ready to abandon the defilements. So atapi has many different, say, nuances. So we can say you are ready to, every time effortful, to abandon defilements as well. Sampajano, that's a very, very important term. So you are fully aware of what's going on. So you have that kind of a inquiring nature, the inquiring nature, the quality of the wisdom, the panya. Wisdom quality is there every time. So you are inquiring, you are investigating, you are seeing, you are fully knowing. So knowing quality is there. Satima, mindfulness. Okay, your mind has to be present. The presence of mind is there. It's not that past, the future, but mostly, say, we are talking on the present moment. The presence of the mind is very, very important. And Vinaya Loke Abhijja Domanassa. That's another interesting area where, so typically, as we already discussed, so mind already has so much of attachments, so much of desires. And again, we might have certain despair, kind of worries, and all that also still available in the mind, even though now we are trying to practice. But the point is, during the practice, keep the mind as much as possible away from those. During the mind, so therefore you need to keep the mind at least temporarily free from defilements for the moment. Say, don't go for desires, don't go for lust, don't allow the mind to be lustful, don't allow the mind to be hateful. Try to make it more neutral. So that's why you know that the Satara, what's that called, 4 guardian meditations, Buddhanussati, Metta, Asubha, and Manananussati. They play this role, how to prepare your mind, to abandon these extremist levels and lustful or agitated or say hateful levels, and take yourself to the kind of a middle, well-balanced mind. So once the mind is balanced, now you can see the reality. So that kind of a preparation is there. So once you have such kind of a mind, now slowly we have to develop the practice. Now here, even in Kayanupassana, so many different areas would explain. So I'm just summarizing few things. So one thing is the establishment of mindfulness. So first stage actually, what we call as a satipatthana, establishment of mindfulness. Because our mind is very much like a monkey mind. We are going here and there, not having any kind of presence. Even though the body is here, your mind is not here. Even though the body is walking, mind is not with the walking body. Even though you are brushing the teeth, your mind is not with that. So likewise, this is not well synchronized in a way. System is there, but not synchronized. So now we have to first synchronize in a way. Now, how to bring your attention to the present moment? So now we have to work around it. So we are using various techniques. So the breathing is there, maybe rising and falling of the abdomen is there, walking is there, and various daily activities are there. All can be used to establish mindfulness. So try to use all these different techniques to establish mindfulness, because that may be the first thing. And that could be easily, implement. So when we are sort of encouraging the people to do it, so this is something we all can start with. So while walking, assume that your mind is playing and the mind is thinking this and that. So, but you can feel your foot is touching the ground. So that is happening right now, at present. So you can bring your attention there. So likewise, now the mind is training. Okay, we are training the mind. So even though we know the theory, we can't implement it without training. It's a kind of a training now we are going through. Again and again, bringing your attention back to the place where you need. So it's a kind of a training period now we are going through. Various exercises are there to train the mind. Otherwise, it will go completely on his own defiled patterns, habitual defiled patterns. Now you have to cut it, go against it. Assume now you are doing it. Once you are doing it, you need to feel the kind of the changes in the mind. Very first day, say you are doing it, you could only maintain your attention on 5 steps continuously. Then distracted. You don't know when the mind is distracted. And mind stayed at proliferation very long time. But as you continue, you may understand, okay, now I can see the shifting of the mind. Say there was a sound, now the mind has shifted. Now you can feel that even. You can trace that even. And once it has shifted, it didn't stay long time in proliferation. You were quickly returning back to the object, to the primary object. That also you probably can feel. So likewise, the presence of mind become more and more. Mindfulness is developing, and the distractions become less and less. Proliferation become less and less. Presence of mind is now improving. And you can see, now I can walk from this point to the other point. Say, I can walk from this end to the other end without getting much distracted. So you can feel the improvement. Say if you are practicing Anapanasati, they are also the same thing. First, say you were unable to do it. Say you started kind of forceful breathing, you end up with a headache, maybe drowsiness, many issues are there, and leg pain, neck pain, back pain, all these things are there. Many issues are there, but slowly as you are developing, now you say, you know how to look at the breath mindfully without interrupting it, without interfering it, allowing the body to naturally breathe, you being completely outside, and very smoothly breathing happens because body know how to breathe. Right? Even when you are sleeping, body is breathing. So nothing to worry. It will not die. So you allow the body to take care of it, and you mind your own business. So we are learning that art, how the body is now allowed to do its job, and I am just maintaining the mindfulness just to know when in-breath happens, okay, this is in-breath. When out-breath happens, this is out-breath. That's also done continuously. And now say you can cover 20 breaths continuously, 50 breaths continuously, 100 breaths continuously. You can see the improvement. Previously, I couldn't do that much, but as I am continuing, okay, now the mind is present, less distractions. Even if it distracted, it is coming by itself, returning by itself, and not spending too much time in proliferation. So all these things are different indications telling you there's a little progress. The method is working for you. Either breathing, either rising and falling, all these different techniques are there to do this practice, to do this training. And you can now recognize, okay, some improvement is there. Mindfulness is there now. And further to encourage, now we are trying to be mindful in daily activities. That is also now included in the practice. Now as much as possible, now you are in the game. Say later, you understand, now mind is there with the breath even without much intervention. Now we say, okay, that's a samadhi being developed. It doesn't want to get distracted. It likes to stay with the breath now. So previously we have to be very vigilant, we have to guard, otherwise the fellow will go out. But now you can understand, okay, the fellow has somewhat tamed. It likes to stay with the breath, and it's like enjoying it. It's like a beautiful breath now. Okay, breath is giving you some happiness, little bit of this, little bit of happiness. And you like to meditate now. You like to walk. Walking also is a beautiful one. It is not that it becomes tiresome. Body can walk for 1 hour, you don't feel much tired. And you are now finding that art. So a kind of a samadhi being developed now. Not only the sati, not only the mindfulness, now the samadhi is also developed. It's a result of mindfulness in a way. So as you develop mindfulness, samadhi is another outcome like. It doesn't want to get distracted. It likes to stay in this subtle, very neutral, quite ordinary experience is something now it has appreciated. It doesn't want to go out and get disturbed. Samadhi qualities are being developed. Now, once it is developed to some extent, probably we can include a little bit of knowledge into it. Include a little bit of Yoniso Manasikara into the picture, and that actually depends on your approach. Now, if one wants to go to deeper samadhi, want to attain jhana, that's also possible. But if you want to practice vipassana, that is also possible. So here actually kind of conflict. In a way, some teachers emphasize jhana, so you all know. And here another group of teachers, so another school, so they say, okay, what we call the neighborhood concentration. What's that? Upachara samadhi. That is enough. So it depends on your approach, depends on how much depth you want to go in the samadhi. But when you come to know upachara samadhi, there are certain signs. Now, say for example, if you are practicing anapanasati, say your breath may naturally become subtler and subtler. So even when breath becomes subtler and subtler, now you are not supposed to get distracted. So you are supposed to maintain your attention with this subtle breath. Now suppose it become even subtle, almost disappeared, like you can't find out the difference. So even there, you shouldn't fall asleep, you shouldn't go to another object, and you shouldn't get distracted. Rather, you have to stay at the breath, but almost like there is no breath. So this is where almost like there is no breath, there is no object of attention as much as possible, almost like, but still your mind is staying closer to the nostril. It's very much like what we call the samadhi indriya. There's a beautiful sutta again in the Anguttara Nikaya, Apana Sutta. So the samadhi indriya is defined where the object where you are focusing, paying attention on, has almost disappeared. Still your mind is not distracted, you haven't fallen asleep, you have no doubts, your mind is not free from defilements or hindrances, but you are able to maintain concentration fair amount of time. Then you have arrived a fair amount of concentration. Typically now your path probably moving forward further in the anapanasati. That's also possible. Different paths are there, so have an open mind. Don't have a rigid plan. Okay, I'm definitely going to do this way. Allow mind to naturally slowly blossom. Like it is not a rigid practice. It is not a forceful practice. It is not that you are trying to manipulate your practice. Rather, allow the mind to slowly blossom, but you do the kind of giving the directions in a proper way, kind of observing the performance of your mind in a way. Recognizing the performance, which side it is now moving forward. If it is now staying while in the anapanasati, if it is feeling happy and you feeling like floating and maybe goosebumps coming and you might feel waves coming, so that means you are now slowly moving still in the anapanasati direction, referred as in the Anapanasati Sutta, Panchama Nikaya. So Anapanasati is a very interesting, very special path to develop all four satipatthana. So all the Kayanupassana, Vedanupassana, Chittanupassana, Dhammanupassana, all four satipatthana can be developed by continuing with Anapanasati. That's very special. And the other thing is, once you reach that, say, calm state, as I just mentioned, almost like that disappeared, probably your body might show up with various sensations. That's also another possibility. You might feel different sensations, different vibrations, or different hardness, softness, and many different sensations might be possible to recognize. That's also another area. We don't know exactly which area is very much like going ahead. We can't foresee. So if they are there, then you can change your attention to those sensations and start investigating. That is also possible. So going with the element side, Dhatu Manasikara side, that's also possible. Elements meditation is another option available. So therefore many techniques are there, and don't think that if you miss or if you don't get one path, don't think that you are finished. I don't think that I am not going to success in this. I am miserable. I don't have this, that, all this. I'm not getting blissful states. So don't worry like that. Many other options are there. So Buddha has taught many different techniques. So not just one method. Many methods are there. And anyway, just to promote a little bit of inquiry inside. So even in Anapanasati, it is not that you are doing a surface touch. You have to do the inquiring part. Sometimes people don't like to do that. That's a problem actually. Because the development of mindfulness will give you a very comfortable mindset, comfortable body, and you might not feel much of say tension. You feel comfortable, and that sometimes people stop there. And not only mindfulness. Now, once mindfulness being developed, the samadhi is developed, right? Concentration being developed. And then your mind jump to various concentrated states, very blissful concentrated states. And sometimes people stuck there. So they want to attain Jhana, they want to be in the Jhana, they practice several hours, 3 hours, 6 hours, 5 hours, and you are always sitting to attain that, expecting that. So you are greedy of that experience. That's another trap sometimes available. I am not saying that you should not develop that, but once you are there, so you should also know how to come out of it and to implement the Vipassana side, implement the contemplation side, implement the investigation side, not just enjoying that, not just blissed out and thinking that is the best you can go. So to have a little bit of encouragement to investigation. So once you are very much like stable in the practice, so you are now capable of looking, say, 100 breaths. So that indicates continuously if you can look at 100 breaths, that means you have certain amount of mindfulness now, certain amount of samadhi now. Why don't you look at the subtle aspects of breathing? Is it long? Is it short? From which nostril it is going in? From which one is going out? Where is it touching? Is it warm? Is it cool? So now it is not that you are thinking, by the way. It is you are inquiring. Your mind is silent. Your mind is well focused onto the breath. And in this subtle process, now you are inquiring, right? You are putting some yoniso manasikara. So here we are talking actually, you know that there are 3 different ways to develop panya. 3 different ways to develop wisdom. First one is the Sutameñana, where you gather a lot of information, you read books, you listen to Dhamma sermons, and that is where the Sutameñana, so the gathered information. You know that you memorize many things, so gathered information, that's again necessary. Bahusutada, so learned experience, that is necessary. And next is what we call the Chintame Panya, where you do contemplations. You analyze, you logically think, you reason out, and all this reasoning, logical thinking, all that are also contributing towards the wisdom. That is also necessary. That is what convincing you, okay, now I am confident, okay, this is obvious, like, I know this is correct. What is the third one? It's called the Bhavaname Panya, the experiential knowledge. So experiential knowledge is utterly important. So that is what we are trying to practice here. So promoting the experiential knowledge. So you have a certain amount of book knowledge, heard information, and you thought about it, contemplated about it, logically reasoned about it. But now you need to realize it. You need to understand it by yourself. So that is where the Bhavaname Jnana, the experiential knowledge is working. That's why Buddha is encouraging this experiential knowledge. So as we discussed even in the Dhamma discussion, many different ways to acquire knowledge, either through saddha, either through ruchi, either through akara parivitakka, either through anussava. So many different, you can refer Chanki Sutta. That is what I think few years back we did the retreat here, Chanki Sutta. But Buddha encouraged the experiential knowledge. So in the experiential knowledge, you need to develop certain skills actually. You can't simply experience everything immediately as you wish. So we need to sharpen the tools now. So that is where the mindfulness come into the picture. You need to have mindfulness. You need to have concentration. And you need to know how to balance the effort. Then only you can properly see different phenomena. So that's why the anapanasati, mindful breathing, or this rising and falling, walking, all are different techniques to establish mindfulness first. And once you establish mindfulness first, now we have to step into the second stage, that is the Vipassana, what we call the Satipatthana Bhavana. Actually, there are 3 stages Buddha explained in the Satipatthana. First stage is establishing mindfulness, Satipatthana. Second stage is development of the mindfulness, what we call the Satipatthana Bhavana or Vipassana Bhavana, development of the wisdom. So for that, first you need to establish mindfulness. You have a fair amount of mindfulness now. You have a fair amount of concentration now. Now that concentrated, mindful, fairly balanced effort mind is now focused onto various bodily phenomena. It could be breath, it could be various sensations, and later it can even be different feelings, and later it can different thoughts, mental formations. Many different areas are there. In Kayanupassana, we are paying attention to the, say, Rupakkhandha, the form aggregate. In the Vedananupassana, we are paying more attention to the feelings, Vedanakkhandha. And in the Chittanupassana, we are paying more attention to maybe consciousness aggregate, formations aggregate, and if possible, even to the perceptions aggregate. And Dhammanupassana covers all 5. So the 4 Satipatthanas are there to thoroughly investigate the 5 aggregates. So more you do this investigation, now the wisdom is coming. That is not merely from the book. It is not merely from the book. It is not your imagination. It is based on real facts. It's based on the experience. So that is why experiential knowledge is utterly important. And you yourself is doing it again and again, many thousand times. Bhavita Bahuli Kata. You need to develop, you need to do it repeatedly. That's why it will take some time. Just looking at one feeling might contribute only a very little knowledge, very little understanding about the feeling. But 2 feelings, 3 feelings, 5 feelings, 100 feelings, 1,000 feelings, if you recognize, if you see, observe their behavior, slowly the momentum is gathering up. The building up, the wisdom is developing slightly, slowly. So by observing the body, you are developing wisdom. Observing the feelings, you are developing wisdom. Observing thoughts, mental formations, you develop wisdom. Now the interesting thing is, now this development of wisdom is quite different from the typical way of, the mundane way of development of the knowledge. Now, when you are going to university, there also you acquire some knowledge by continuing different subjects, learning different subjects. But it doesn't lead to dispassion. Instead, it's leading to highlight you further as a self, further as an individual. I am a degree holder now. I am a BSc. I am a master now. I am with a PhD. You have to respect me. You have to give me the first place. Mine should be the first discourse, the first speech. So it will promote the self. But here, the opposite has to happen. So if you are practicing Vipassana, so instead of boosting a self, time to time you may understand, okay, where am I? I can't experience myself. So the I-making, mind-making being little bit forgotten, like you couldn't make I. You couldn't make mind. Now say for example, say you are walking, you are practicing elements meditation. And say for a couple of hours, assume now you are investigating various phenomena, different bodily phenomena are happening. Say earth element, water element, fire element, air element, it's manifesting in many different ways and you are investigating. There's a task given to the mind, which is now the mind is quite mindful, presence is there, attentive, concentrated, well focused and investigating. Something's going on. Going on. You are looking at it, observing it for 1 hour. Did you make eye? You forgot to make eye. Did you make mind? That's also forgot. So these phenomena are very subtle. There's a big task assigned to the mind. The fellow forget to make eye. The fellow forgot to make mind. And all this time you were investigating all these phenomena, and later after it you feel like something has gone. I don't feel my presence, myself, the ego. You can't feel. Where was I? So your mind might question. The point is, it is not an existing I. It is rather a mind-made I. So we are time to time making an I. Now say for example, if you consider a politician, per hour, how many times? I making, mind making, maybe say many times, 100 times. So if you are practicing Vipassana, say I making, mind making, maybe 50 times. If you are thoroughly in this elements meditation, maybe only 5 times. If you are fully in that, 0 times per hour. So what's the result? So you lose this I making, you lose this selfhood, still temporarily by the way, till the Vipassana knowledge is fairly gathered momentum, it is fully operating within the mind, your defilements are fairly subsided. Instead of avijja, now the vijja is operating. Instead of avijja, the ignorance, you have certain wisdom operating the mind, very much like taking care of the mind. All that wrong habitual tendencies are temporarily subsided, like I making is abandoned, mind making is abandoned temporarily by the way. So till the Vipassana wisdom, the knowledge is very much like governing the mind, strengthen the mind. So the avijja related I making, mind making is fairly suppressed. Now that's famous simile, if you can remember in the Satipatthana Sutta, elements meditation. So Buddha say, like a butcher, say he is killing an animal, he is killing a cow, right? So after killing it, now he is removing the skin and preparing different parts and ultimately selling. Is he selling a bull? Is he selling a cow? What is he selling? He is selling meat, right? He don't have the perception of a bull, don't have a perception of an ox, perception of a, say, cow. He's had the perception that I am selling meat, isn't it? So same thing with the Vipassana practice. When you are doing it again and again, with the say, elements meditation alone, simple example. So you may have a different understanding. Okay, this is a mere fabrication. This is a mere elements. Here also mere elements. There are also mere elements. Where am I? It's mere elements are operating. It's a matter of elements. Elements are manifesting. There is no person here. There is no being here. There is no self here. So time to time, these insights are possible. But these insights has to be fairly thorough, fairly, emphasized, fairly strengthened to have that understanding lasting for a long time. But the moment that the mind reduces the strength of the wisdom, again the attachment happens, again I-making happens, again mind-making happens. So that's the issue. And later, now suppose you are continuing the practice. And you come to a stage that you understand the impermanence fairly now. So the Buddha emphasized in the Kayanupassana, Samudaya Dhammanupassīvā kāyasmiņ viharati, Vaya Dhammanupassīvā kāyasmiņ viharati, Samudaya Vaya Dhammanupassīvā kāyasmiņ viharati. So you see the arising nature of various bodily phenomena, you see the ceasing nature of bodily phenomena, arising, ceasing, passing away nature of bodily phenomena. You see at the feelings, arising nature of various feelings, passing away nature of various feelings, very quickly arising, passing away nature of various feelings. You apply it to the mind. Okay, thoughts are coming and going, appearing and disappearing. Now you are not contributing, you are not being driven by them. So various skills are now being developed. You are able to step out from the process and just look, just observe how thoughts are coming. Even though thoughts are coming, they are going. You don't need to push them now, right? So likewise, certain wisdom being developed, now you are not fabricating. You stop temporarily the fabrication as much as possible. Because previously we were fabricating. When a thought happened, we add another thought. We attach another thought. We put another thought through imaginations we put, through craving we put, through our own, say, imagination we put. So many attachments are there. So the email become very heavy. Ultimately, Google will reject it. So how about not attaching anything, not fabricating the email? You received it, delete it. It came and it gone as it is, something like that. So the email came, the thought came, you understood, it's there, it will go, and it has gone. You have put a auto delete, something like that. Messages are auto deleted. So it will go naturally, so you don't need to worry. You don't need to struggle, it will be auto deleted. So you take out your hand, something like that. So thoughts are coming and going, so you step back. And you understand they are also coming and going. Whatever arising is subject to pass away. Whatever arising is subject to pass away. You're thoroughly understanding that nature, that characteristic, which is inherent to all conditioned phenomena. Now suppose if you are practicing like this, what is the result? So let me take another interesting sutta to give the result. Attadipa Sutta in the Kanda Samyutta. Now Buddha explained like this. Rupasatveva bhikkave aniccatam viditva. That means, so you have done fair amount of Kayanupassana. So you investigated the form aggregate thoroughly. Aniccatam viditva. Now you understood, realized that it is impermanent. Practically. Viparinama viraga nirodha. It is changing, and now you have certain dispassion towards it. It is passing away. Pubbecheva rupang etarahita sabbang rupang. Now you use this very body to develop that wisdom, but inferentially you can understand it is common to every physical phenomena. It is not that you are going till the end of the universe to practice each and every phenomena. You have taken a sample of the whole physical world. This is the body. And once you develop that wisdom through making use of this body, so that understanding is applicable to every phenomena, every physical phenomena. So you are very much like enhancing that understanding, developing that further understanding. So Buddha say here, Pubbecheva rupang, even the past phenomena, even the future phenomena, physical phenomena, present phenomena, whatever close to you, whatever far from you, whatever subtle, whatever gross. So many, the 11 facets Buddha mentioned. Atita, Anagata, Pachuppanna, Hina, Pranita, Oladika, Sukuma, Dura, Santika. So many different ways we have, categorized physical objects. Whatever it is, every physical phenomena, you understand, okay, it is impermanent, it's changing. Sabbang rupang, aniccan dukkhang viparinama dhammati. So you understood, okay, it is impermanent. There is no point of holding to them, and they are subject to change. Evametang yathabhutang sammappaññāya passato ye soka parideva dukkha domana supāyāsa te pahiyanti. Now Buddha say another result. So as a result of this understanding, your worries have abandoned. Your worry is being abandoned. You are not often crying now. You are not, feeling miserable now. You are not worrying now. So you feel little confident now instead. Because previously you were understanding this is a self, this body is myself. And whenever it's subject to kind of an illness, you are really frightened. But now you understand, okay, this is a natural phenomena. This belongs to the nature. It's going through this continuous change, continuous impermanence that is inevitable. So you understand that, you accept that now. Not merely from the book, but you have experienced it. You observed it many million times. So when the body is changing, then why are you crying? When it is getting old, why are you crying then? Because it is very quite natural, it is obvious. So now the worrying is reduced, the lamentation is reduced, despair is reduced. Instead, what is available now? Tesam pahana na paritasati. When all these things are abandoned, now you are not feeling agitated. You feel calm, you feel quiet, a little bit of happy. Aparitasam sukham viharati. Without agitation, now you are living a kind of comfortable life. Sukham viharam bhikkhu tadanga nibbutoti uchati. So when all the mind is abandoned, the grasping, no eye making, no mind making, and you feel calm, you feel relaxed, you feel quenched, no burning, no agitation. Now actually, when mind feel agitated, that is one state. When mind does not feel agitated, it's another state. We need to differentiate these two. So when we feel happy, that is one state. When we feel unhappy, that is another state. So likewise, so as a result of the Vipassana practice, so time to time you may understand, okay, mind is giving up things now. Mind doesn't want to hold things. But the issue here is still I have explained the Rupakkhanda, but we need to work on the feelings, we need to work on the perceptions, we need to work on the formations and different consciousness. That's a problem. That's why we need time. Even though we have thorough understanding about the body, once the mind let go of the body, it might attach to a very subtle feeling, a kind of a blissful state, a blissful feeling. Because that is another interesting, very subtle state, which is not vulnerable as the body. If you haven't seen the changing nature of the feelings. So that's why the Vedana Anupassana, Chitta Anupassana, those things are necessary to free the mind even from those phenomena, very subtle phenomena. The body is very much like dross. You might understand it's impermanent. But once the mind which is released from the body, if it is latched with the very subtle feeling, still we are trapped. We can't say we are fully liberated. We can't say even temporarily the mind has let go of everything. Even though it has let go of the Rupakkhanda, it is trapped in the Vedanakkhandha. It has upadana, it has the clinging to the Vedana. So the Vedana is another area now we have to little bit work in, so that also not being clung to. There may be various perceptions, that also may be something we need to work on, that also not clung to. Different thoughts, formations, that also have to be abandoned. So the mind has to come to a kind of a state, a fairly simple, completely unconditioned, fairly colorless. So that kind of a mind is something typically we ignore. Which type of drink you like to have? Now you guys are quite, tired now listening to Dhamma. So assume that someone is coming and offering you. Someone is offering orange drink, someone is offering Coca-Cola, maybe grape juice, avocado, maybe another soft drink, very beautiful, very expensive. Another one is just coming with water. Which one you do like? So typically, the trend is water is just mere water. No, can you add a little bit of beer? Can you add this bit of this? Can you at least boil it? Can you cool it at least? No, I like to have a cool water. Just mere lukewarm water. Who drinks like that? So that's the kind of attitude we have. So this mind is also like that. So the undefiled mind is just a mere water-like. As we discussed last day, say when the mind is colored, that is where the desires are there, right? Lustful mind is kind of a colored mind. When the mind is influenced with hate, it's like a boiled water. When it is influenced by sloth and torpor, but water is like, sluggy and very much like sedimented. When it is with restlessness and worry, the water is very much like turbulent water. muddy and turbulent. When it is with many doubts and perplexities, it is very much like in the darkness and again muddy. You can't see. So what is the state of the pure water? Or rather, pure mind? Very much like pure water. So the mind undefiled is very much like pure water. So it is not therefore that we don't have pure water, but we don't like pure water. We want to fabricate it. We want to add value. The raw material, the raw form is not enough. We want to make it thamma. We want to make something. We want to add the value. Then only you can sell. Just selling raw material is not beneficial, not profitable. So in Sri Lanka also now we are trying to sell some added value products. You guys won't get pure raw material. Pure water you can't sell much. If you add some value, maybe a little color, add some sugar, then you can sell for many dollars. But in Vipassana, you get pure water once a while. So that watery, very pure state of mind is something that we need to appreciate. So that is a point that we often miss. We think that very blissful state is the best state. Very, very deep state is the best state. Or kind of any different ways our mind can trick here. But when the mind is free from body, feelings, all that, the mind is very much like very natural and almost like stopped, and no fabrication and no I, no presence of I. So you might even ignore it. So that's why again and again, by the way, interestingly, the practice will take you again and again to that place. That's the beauty. If you practice Kayanupassana, end result is this. If you practice Vedananupassana, end result is this. If you practice properly Chittanupassana, end result is this. If you practice Dhammanupassana, end result is this. What? Let me tell that. Anisitocha viharati nachikinchi lokyopaditi. So the mind become very much like independent, not attached with anything in the world, not grasping anything in the world. So this kind of a state, when it is happening again and again, so you tend to look at it. You tend to little awaken to it. You tend to little, experiment with it because it's happening again and again. So once it is happened, now we have to practice in that, being in that, just be there. Nothing to do. That's the most difficult part. How not to do anything. So we'll discuss these things later. But the interesting part is, now all these results are quite temporary because the amount of defilements are still boiling in us. Even though temporarily, time to time, we raise up from the muddy mud, again we jump back to the mud. So now we need a fairly systematic approach, how to maintain this pure mind in a way, how to maintain this unstressful, very relaxed, very calm, very tranquil, quite pure state of mind continuously. Now we need a method. So that is where the third stage of Satipatthana Buddha mentioned, Satipatthana Bhavana Gamincha Patipada. Can anyone guess what it is? That's a Noble Eightfold Path. Sila, Samadhi, Panya. So if you want to comprehensively maintain this very pure, very relaxed, unagitated, unboiled, completely undefiled, no eye making, no mind making, that state, we need a complete method, Sila, Samadhi, Panya. So with that, I conclude today's Dhamma sermon and we'll explore further in a few days what other aspects we can discuss. And thank you very much for attentive listening. Okay, today also we have spent fair amount of time in practicing and discussing Dhamma and again listening to Dhamma. And all the merits what we have acquired, we'll share with all the past relatives and all celestial beings and with any being who is in need of these merits. And we wish these merits help us also to attain path, fruition, Nibbana, and we'll recite the traditional verses.